Let's start at the very beginning. We're going to start with a simple trigonometry question. I'm just going to give you the first 3 questions here. They're not worth that many marks. This is just 2, 3, 4 minutes. So we're looking at about 1 mark per minute. So we're looking at plus minus 4 minutes for this next question. It is now 2:32. I'm going to give you guys until 2:36 to answer these 3 questions. Just pop your favorite emoji in the chat when you're ready. I do want us to note here, it does say without the use of a calculator. So we should know what that means. Right, that should give us some indication as to what we're doing. All right. So when you're ready, pop your favorite emoji in the chat. Hello, Vicanyo. All right, peeps, that's time. Okay, let's have a look at the questions. If we haven't quite finished, that's okay. It just means we need to up our pace a little bit. All right, okay. First thing that we're going to do before we even address the questions is we're going to first acknowledge that x is equal to 30 degrees. Okay, that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to acknowledge that x is equal to 30 degrees. That makes our lives a little bit easier as we go through the questions. Now, when they're telling us over here that without the use of a calculator, we need to find the value of cos 30 plus 60. Okay. In this question, we know for a fact that they want us to then use special angles because they're telling us that we cannot use our calculators. But I know that if I've learned my special angles, then I should get a 1 over here, I should get 2 over here, and I should get √3 over here, based off of the special angle that I'm seeing over here, or the triangle that I've got over here. All right, so cos of 30 plus, or x plus 30 would just give me the cosine of 60 degrees, which means I need to first label in terms of 60 degrees. This is going to be my adjacent side. This is my opposite side, and this is my hypotenuse. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not lying. Oh, no, I'm lying. It's the other way around. It is. This should be √1, and this should be 1. This should be √3, like that. And that should be the hypotenuse. All right. So cos of 60 is going to equal to just 1/2. Just like that. All right. So sine of 2x is going to be the same as sine of 2 times 30 degrees, which is the same as sine of 60. And that's going to give me the square root of 3 over 2. All right. And then for number 3 over here, we're going to take the square root of 30 times tan multiplied by tan of 30 degrees. And that's going to give us the square root of 30 multiplied by tan is opposite over adjacent, the root of 3 over 1, which is just the same as the root of 3. Therefore, my answer is just 3. All right. So those are my 3 answers. 1 mark and 2 mark questions are normally accuracy questions. They're not going to give you a mark for any kind of method. There's no method involved. You must either know your special angles or not. Okay, so 1 mark there, 1 mark for the final answer over here, 1 mark for multiplying the 2 of them, and 1 mark for the final answer. But again, if you do this step incorrectly, you're going to still get 0 as an answer. There's just no way around it. Okay, you're still gonna, they're not gonna give you a mark for using a calculator and getting the right answer. No, no, no. You need to get both of these correct in order to get both marks in this question. All right. Here's a question that requires us to prove. And I want us to use this idea to, to think about how to use our ratios in order to figure what this is. All right, so the question here says, prove that tan of theta is equal to sine of theta over cos of theta. So we can go into this in a little bit more detail. You can decide which side of this you want to use. This is the left-hand side or the right-hand side. You can use either side of these to prove the other. Honestly, it's going to be easier to use the right-hand side to prove the left-hand side. I just want to double check. Thumbs up. Does everybody know what to do in this question? Thumbs down if you do not know what to do and you would like ma'am to help you. Okay, Kanya's saying thumbs down, but Vukosi's thumbs up. That's fine. Okay. Okay, we can definitely do this one together, just so we can get an idea of where we're going. Of course, I can help. That's why I'm here. All right. So I'm going to now start using the right-hand side. So I'm going to start with this side over here, the right-hand side. And I'm going to use the right-hand side to prove that the right-hand side is equal to the left-hand side. All right, so I'm going to start by saying the right-hand side is equal to sine of theta over cos of theta. Right, now according to SOHCAHTOA, we should know what sine of theta and cos of theta are. Yes? Okay. I know that sine of theta is the same as opposite over hypotenuse. All of that over adjacent, or cos of theta, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. All right. So I want you to take this statement that ma'am's just made here, and I want you guys to multiply or divide these two ratios together and tell me what we get out as an answer. Okay. Okay, sorry, if I simplify this, I should get A opposite over hypotenuse divided by adjacent over hypotenuse. I'm going to do a little tip in times. Okay, opposite over hypotenuse multiplied by hypotenuse over adjacent. These two will cancel each other out. The h's will cross cancel. Therefore, my final answer is opposite over adjacent. What does that tell me? What is opposite over adjacent equal to? Opposite over adjacent is equal to tan. It's equal to tan theta. Okay, and that is therefore equal to the left-hand side. All right, and that's how we can prove that the one is equal to the other. This is actually called one of the identities of trigonometry. All right, this is the tan identity. All right, and it comes up quite often. It does come up quite often. It's called the tan identity. All right. All right, can I move on to the next one? Are we all okay with how ma'am got to that answer? All right, peeps, let's have a look at the next question. Here's question 2. Right, I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to go through this one. It's a 4-mark question, which means there's a lot of not a lot of problem solving. There's a lot of higher order thinking. There's a lot of complex procedure. You need to know what to do in order to get from one to the other. All right, let's read the information we've been given. It says BH is perpendicular to AC. AC is 19 meters in length. That's something that they have not added in the picture. So we do need to add that. So AC is 19 meters in length, other way around. 19 meters in length, right? All other information is given on the diagram. Find X, the length of BC, all right? So I'll give you guys a second, all right? It's a 4-mark question, which means you should get about plus minus 6 minutes. I will give you guys plus minus 5 minutes to figure this one out, all right? Pop your favorite emoji in the chat when you're ready. If you're having trouble with the question, just go ahead and send me a DM. I'm happy to help you understand where we need to go from there. Okay. All right, peeps, let's have a look at the answer. I see Bikanya telling me that she probably got 3 out of the 4, but let's see. All right, I'm going to remind you, grade 10s, that whenever it is that we've been given any kind of question in a paper or anything, the first thing, if there's a drawing involved, the first thing we do is not to look at the drawing and try and figure out what's going on. No, we read this information over here. Because this info is going to then give us the information we need in order to solve the question. Now, if we skip what's been written over here, we're going to miss a couple of things that are quite important, right? First, that BH is perpendicular to AC, which tells me that this is not only a 90-degree angle triangle, this one is also a 90-degree angle triangle. So both ABH and BHC are 2 right-angled triangles. Then they tell us that the length from A all the way to C is 19 meters in length. All other information is given on the diagram, which is great. But now we cannot assume that just because BH is perpendicular to AC, we cannot assume that it is then a perpendicular bisector and that this is now cut in half. This does not mean that this is 10.5 meters and the other side, or 9.5 meters. That's not what it means at all. It's not what we've been told, but we do know that we want the hypotenuse on that side. And the information we've been given at the moment is for that whole side. The triangle that we've been given with the most information is ABH. So I know that I can use ABH to find this side over here. I can use triangle ABH to find the length of AH, because if I can find the length of AH, that's also going to give me the length of HC. Okay, we cannot just make the assumption that it is half of the other. No, we have to figure out what that is. All right, so first thing I'm going to do, as always, step number 1, I'm going to label. So I'm going to label in terms of my 39-degree angle. This becomes my adjacent side. 11 meters becomes the opposite. And AB over here becomes a hypotenuse, right? Now, I know what I have. I have a 39-degree angle. I've also got the opposite side. And I know that I want the adjacent side. I want AH, because AH is going to allow me to figure out what HC is equal to. So I know opposite and adjacent, I need to use tan. So I'm going to use tan of theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. That means that tan of 39 degrees is equal to the opposite, which is 11 over AH, which is exactly what I want to find. I'm going to put this over 1, and then I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to get AH, tan of 39 degrees is equal to 11. That means that AH is equal to 11 over tan of 39 degrees. Okay. If I punch that into a calculator and get an answer, sick. 11 over tan 39. I should get 13.58. 13.58 meters, right? And that proves that this BH over here was not a bisector, because I now know that AH is equal to 13.58 meters. Right. Now, if AH is equal to that much, then I can figure out how much HC is equal to, right? That tells me that HC needs to equal 19 minus 13.58. Which should give us 5.42. Is equal to 5.42 meters. Right. So now I know that this side over here is equal to 5.42 meters. This is HC. Now I want to find X. I don't necessarily have to, I don't have an angle. So I know that I can't use trig here. But I know that I've got 2 sides. I've got the opposite side over here, and I've got the adjacent side to C over here. I know that I can use Pythag. Good, Sanelli, so absolutely. So I'm going to use Pythag to then find X. I can say X is equal to 11 squared plus 5,42 all squared. But I know because I don't want x squared, I want x, I must take the square root of this whole thing. Now, if I put that into my calculator, the square root of 11 squared plus 5,42 squared gives me 12.26 meters. Right. So x over here is 12,26 meters. All right. And I should actually add in here, I can use Python. Okay, so again, if we don't know what to do here, we're going to get stuck. So we should be able to think outside the box. The best info or strategy I can give you is to always look for the triangle with the most information. Okay. Look for the triangle with the most information, because that is the one that's going to then connect you to the next one that you need. Okay. With the most info. That's ma'am's pro tip. We can use that. All right. Thumbs up. How are we all feeling about answering this question? Everybody okay here? Do we understand the steps that ma'am has taken to get to the answer? Oh, good. Thanks, Oko. All right, cool beans. So we've got to think outside the box to an extent. All right. We can't just think it's always just going to be as easy as Sokatoa and we can see it. No, we've got to think outside the box a little bit. All right. Let's try something a little different. Okay. We're just going to answer these two questions and then we'll come back to the other one. 40,37. Am I the one who's got it wrong? Let me see. 11 squared plus 5,42 squared. Yeah, I'm not sure, Bikanyo. My calculator still gives me the same answer. I still get 12.26. I'm going to give 1 more minute. Okay, this shouldn't take too long. All right, peeps, let's have a look at the answer. Okay, so we're going to have to make sure that we understand that in question 2 over here, x is pretty easy. We can all find x. We're going to use the Pythagorean theorem to find it. But when we're looking at b here, we've got to distinguish between whether they're asking us for just theta or whether they're asking us for the ratio theta. In this case, they want us to give an answer as something over something. So don't go then ahead and try and find the answer for theta and then use that to click on your calculator. No, we're not doing that. It's a simple 2-mark question. They just want you to tell them that sine theta is equal to something over something. Okay, so be very careful with that. You don't have to go all the way around, find theta, and then use sine of theta to find. No, we don't want that. Okay, and I'll explain why I'm going on a rant about that just now. Let's find x. All right, so x is going to equal to the square root of my hypotenuse squared minus the short side squared. So 7 squared minus 3 squared. If we punch this into our calculator should give us something like 2 root 10, I believe your calculator will do, which I'm not going to know what that is in decimal form because I've just done that in my head. But you're only going to get 2 marks, and I'm sure one of them will be for Pythag. Okay, because when we use the Pythagorean theorem, we must say Pythag. We must mention it. 1 mark there and 1 mark for the final answer. And then let's do sine of theta quickly, and then we'll do tan. Sine of theta is just going to be the ratio of theta. That means we need to label in terms of theta. This is going to be our adjacent side, our opposite side, our hypotenuse. Sine of theta will then just equal 3 over 7. Okay, 2 marks for interpreting this correctly. Okay, I mentioned this because we do, in fact, have enough information on this drawing for us to go and find theta. For A is -2. No, I don't think it should be -2, my darling. Okay, can I just ask everybody to pop their answer for A for me in the chat? Okay, I just want to see if everyone else's answer looks like. I'm pretty sure it does. 6.34, 324. Okay, Klulani, degrees for which one? For B, okay. I'm going to explain why that's not what we're doing. All right, thank you so much. Okay, I was seeing, I think everybody's getting that. If you punch it into your calculator, you should get 2 root 10. And if you click SD, your calculator should give you 6.32455532, something long like that. Okay, so if you're not getting the answer that we're getting, then you might need to check if your calculator, or maybe clear your calculator, because this is a simple calculation. Your calculator shouldn't have a problem giving you the right answer. Okay, let's have a look again. Okay, so I just want to address this quickly because I figured it was going to come up as an issue, and that's exactly what I mean. If we look at this particular question here, they have given us enough information over here for us to find theta. I could either use the fact that sine of theta is equal to 3 over 7, and then I know that I'm looking for an angle, so I would shift angle, right? I would go shift sine of 3,7, and that would give us an angle for theta. It would give us an answer for the angle theta, but we're not asking for the angle theta. We're not asking for the angle theta. All we want is sine of theta, and we know that sine of theta is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. So they don't actually want us to find the angle. They want us to find the ratio. I just want to make sure everybody's understanding me. There's a difference between when they ask you for sine of theta or cos of theta or tan of theta, and when they ask you for just theta. Okay. When they ask you for the first 3, they want you to give them a ratio. You must write something over something else. That's what they want from you. But if they ask you for theta, then you need to click shift and give them something to degree something. Okay, something degrees. Can I get a thumbs up? Do you guys understand what ma'am is saying? So in this particular question, there is no need for us to go all the way to trying to figure out what theta is equal to. Is ma'am making sense? Everyone with me? Okay. Make sure that you're not going full length to figure out what the angle theta is equal to. It's not necessary. Nobody's going to give you an extra mark for that, so don't waste your time doing it. Okay. I'm going to then show you guys the next two questions. Okay, C and D. Now, I want us to look at the difference between what they're asking for in question C and what they're asking for in question D. Make sure that we understand. Yes, Fulani, they do. Okay. I want you to make sure, Fulani, that you understand. If they say to you, determine theta, what are they asking you for? If they just say, determine theta, what do they want from you? What does theta stand in place of? Theta is just the what? If I had a triangle like that, theta would just be the what? What is theta? What would we put in place of theta? Yes, correct, Seho. Okay, are you understanding what I'm saying, Hulani? When we have a triangle, when I have a triangle and I have theta, just theta, do you see how it's just theta? Theta means that they want you to find them an angle. Okay, and we know when we're looking for an angle, we're going to need to click shift. So if they just say determine theta, then you give them the angle. But if they say determine cos of theta, you know that cos means something in terms of SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so when they ask you for cos of theta, then what do they want from you? Now they don't want the angle, they want the ratio. Okay, they want you to tell them something over something, the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Okay, but if they just say find theta, theta is just an angle all on its own. So the answer must be something like 40 degrees or 37 comma something degrees. That's what theta is. All right. I hope that answered your question. Excellent. Hmm. All right, let's chat about the answers here. Okay, so I'm just going to recreate that triangle over here because like now it's 4. This is theta, that is alpha, that is 3, and we just figured out that this side over here is 2 root 10. All right. So the tan of alpha means that we need to go now find the ratio, but from alpha side, we need to label from this side. So we've got this is the adjacent, this is the opposite, and 7 is the hypotenuse. Right, so I know tan, according to SOHCAHTOA, tan of alpha is going to be the opposite over the adjacent. Tan of alpha is opposite over adjacent, which in this case would be 2 root 10 over 3. That's the answer I should get. I should get something over something. All right, in the next question here, they want us to find the value of theta, and theta is on its own. So they don't want a ratio, they want the angle. So theta, the angle theta, if alpha is equal to this, and this isn't even really a trigonometry question, it's just the basic angles in a triangle type situation, right? So I'm going to have that theta is equal to 180 degrees minus 90 degrees minus 64,62 degrees. And my reason for that is because of the interior angles of a triangle are equal. They add up to 180. Here we go. Interior angles of a triangle. So that means then that theta is equal to 25, 38 degrees. 25.38 degrees. Okay, and that's as simple as the answer should get. Cat, not really, but like we say, the answer your calculator gives you first, if it's got square roots or even if it's a fraction, the fraction is always better than the decimals because the decimals are always cut off. Okay, any answer that the calculator gives you that's not a decimal is probably the better answer because then it's the most accurate answer. Like just like here with 2 root 10, our answer for that, I think we made it 0.32, right? Or 33 rather. But there were so many other decimals after that we've cut it off. So it's not as accurate as answer as 2 root 10 would be. Okay. So normally if you're given a nice round answer by the calculator, that's the one you want to use because that's the most accurate one. Okay, I hope that answered your question. Okay, I want us to try a little bit of geometry on a Cartesian, trigonometry on a Cartesian plane. Are we all okay with that? All right, cool. We're going to try something a little more difficult than usual. I want to see if we'll be able to pick up on this. There is quite a lot of trigonometry in paper 2. In fact, in your matric here, it makes up a huge chunk of your matric paper or your paper 2 in matric, as it would in grade 10 as well at the end of the year. So we're going to try something a little more complicated. All right, here are the following 2 questions. I want us to see if we can understand what's happening here. All right, I want you guys to read through the 2 questions, okay? And once you've read through it and you think you understand what it is that they're telling you to do, then you can put the smiley man or the nerdy guy emoji in the chat. If you only if you understand what the question is asking of you. Okay, take a minute, read it, and then if you're sure, then put the emoji in the chat. If not, you can even put a thumbs down, ma'am, yo, ma'am, I don't know what is going on. Do we understand what the question requires of us? Ah, lovely, Vukosi. Okay. Okay. All right. I didn't expect it to go to just be an easy one where everybody would be like, yes, ma'am, I got you. Okay. I didn't expect it to be that easy, but it's fine. Not a single clue. That's okay. That's okay. We're going to chat through it. Okay. And it's not as difficult as we're thinking it is, actually. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's start with the information that they've given us. Okay. We've been given that CSC. Do we all know what CSC means? Yes? Are we aware of what CSC means? It's cosec. It's cosec. Cosec is actually abbreviated as CSC, right? So we know that they want the cosec of alpha. So that means because we know that it's on a Cartesian plane, we want the cosec alpha. And we know that cosec is the cousin of sine, correct, Khulani? So we know that sine of alpha would be opposite over hypotenuse. So that tells us that cosec of alpha would have to be the opposite of that. Cosec of alpha would have to be hypotenuse over opposite. Okay, so what they're actually telling us over here is that they've given us the ratio of the hypotenuse over the opposite, but on a Cartesian plane. All right. They've given it to us on a Cartesian plane. Thumbs up. Is everybody still with ma'am here? Are we all okay with this idea? Okay, cool beans. All right, so this is 0 degrees, 90 degrees over here, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and then over here we've got 360 degrees. All right, so now we know that we're going to draw an angle alpha. I don't know how big my angle alpha has to be just yet, but let's think about this, guys. I know that they've told me that cosec of alpha is negative 5 over 3. Right. Now, that negative tells me that either my x value is negative or my y value is negative, because the only way I'm possibly going to get a negative is if I had a positive divided by a negative, or the other way around, a negative divided by a positive. Right. That's how I end up with a negative. So that means that my hypotenuse has to be positive, and the opposite is the y value. So my y value has to be negative. A positive divided by a negative will give us this negative that they've given us here in the middle. All right. So I know that my hypotenuse can never be negative. My hypotenuse is a radius. It's always positive. So my negative value for -3 should be down here. This would be where -3 is, right? Y, in the y value. So my triangle is either going to be in this direction, like that, or it's going to be in this direction, like that. Okay, can anybody tell me from the drawing over here, what is the radius? What is the value of r, or the hypotenuse? From the drawing over here, this value from here to there would be how much? It's 5, correct, it's 5. Remember, it's the radius, it's the hypotenuse. My hypotenuse would be from there to there. That means it's 5. Because I've got cosec, which is hypotenuse over opposite, this becomes a radius of 5. And then my opposite from my angle, which would be this angle. My angle actually goes all the way around, guys. That is my angle. This is my angle alpha. Okay. So my opposite side would have to be over here. This would be -3. My y value would be equal to -3. Okay. Does everybody understand why I can't say it's on this side? Okay, I can't have it on this side. I'm not allowed to have it on this side. Okay, do we know why ma'am says we can't have it on this side? We have to do the triangle on this side. Okay, it's because my x value over here would also be negative, right? My x value, let's say for instance, my x value is -4. If my x value is -4, a negative and a negative would give me a positive, not a negative there. Okay. So if I had, like, if I was finding tan of alpha, I would have to have -3 over -4. And that would give me a positive answer. And it's not supposed to give me a positive answer according to this. Okay, it's supposed to give me a negative answer. So the only way I can do that is if my x value is positive. Okay, because a positive and a negative will give me a negative. All right, so it is quite a complicated one. All right, now they want us to find the angle theta, right? In this case, we need to look at the information that we've got, not theta, alpha. We can reduce this angle to that one. That's angle alpha. So if you label according to this angle alpha, can we find the angle? Are we able to find the angle? We should be able to find the angle, right? I know that I've got, okay, this is my adjacent side. I don't have any information on my adjacent side. That over there is my opposite, and this is my hypotenuse. So I do have enough information to find my angle alpha. I'm just going to have to shift angle. Okay, can we find the angle alpha, guys? Okay, I know I have my opposite side and I have my hypotenuse, and I know that I want my angle theta. I want theta. Okay, Kulani's given me an answer and it's a negative something answer, which is actually quite correct. Okay, she got the answer -36,88 degrees. Okay, can you just confirm with me, guys? Were you guys also able to get that as an answer? Okay, Omi says yes. Good. All right, so this is the negative angle. It's just that if it's a negative angle, it will be going in this direction, right? Because there's our 0 and then we count clockwise. So if we want this big angle, how are we going to find the big angle? We're just going to take this amount and add what to it? It's almost like we want it to come full circle. We're just going to take that number and add all the way around, Kulani. Yes, exactly. We would take -36,88 and we would add 360 so that so this thing starts here and goes all the way around to give us the answer that we're looking for. Okay. So we're just going to take the answer plus 360. And that will give us the big angle, this reflex angle alpha. That's it. That's it. So we would get 323,13 degrees. All right. So alpha, that large one, and I've called it theta. It's not actually theta, it's alpha. Right. It's that large angle all the way around. Oh, 0.12. All right. 0.12 degrees. Okay. Okay, now they want you to determine the exact values for cos of alpha and for cot of alpha. Now, for this information, you're going to need the adjacent side, right? Because in this drawing that we've got over here, we've got the opposite side, we've got the hypotenuse, we don't have the adjacent. How can we find the adjacent, guys? We can use Pythag. Yes, exactly. So we're going to use Pythag. Please just find me the adjacent. We should be able to find it. It's an easy answer, right? The square root of 34. No, the answer should be 4 exactly on the dot, Fulani, because we should get 5 squared minus -3 all squared. So 25 minus 9. So we should get 5 squared minus -3 all squared. Yeah, it should equal exactly 4. Our adjacent side should be 4, right? Is equal to 4. That then, remember guys, translates to your coordinates. So this means the x value over there is actually 4 and the y value is -3. All right, so if we have all of these, can we then determine cos of alpha and cot of alpha? Yes, we can, because we just want the ratios. So please give me the answers for the ratios. Cos of alpha is equal to something and cot of alpha is equal to something. Mm. See how? Because you're adding in the middle, you shouldn't be adding, you should be minusing. Because we're taking the long side, the hypotenuse minus the short side. That's interesting. Okay. I feel like your calculator is broken. I don't know what else to tell you, dude. Okay, somebody said cos of alpha is 4/5. I agree with that. It's 4/5. And then cot of alpha, cot, remember, is tans, is the cousin of tan, where tan is equal to opposite over adjacent. Cot will be adjacent over opposite, which means our adjacent is 4 over our opposite, which would be -3. So you need to remember to put the negative in there, otherwise you're not going to get the mark. Okay. All right, that was a really tough question. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, but it does come up. And especially because paper 2 is a lot harder than... Oh, yes, put it inside the bracket, yes. Okay, yes. I see now what the calculator's done. Oh, shame, sorry. Yes, you need to put this -3 over here needs to be in brackets. Okay. All right, guys, let's do some Euclidean geometry. Okay, again, a lot of these require you to know certain things about the question already. Okay. Okay, I want us to look at this question over here. Okay, 8.1. Okay, 2, 4, 5. This is about 7.5 minutes. So I'm only going to give you guys about 5 minutes to get this one out. It's not a difficult question. All right, pop your favorite emoji in the chat once you're ready. Are we all okay with how to do this particular question? Everything's been given to you on the screen. All right. We've got 1 minute left, folks. All right, guys, unfortunately, that's time. If you're not done, that's okay. That's okay. All right. I think this particular exercise is going to expose which ones of us don't know our properties of our quadrilaterals. Because we need to know the properties of a rhombus in order to answer this question effectively. Right. Lucky for us here, we're not proving anything, which is nice. They just tell us KLMN is a rhombus. So we're allowed to use all the properties of a rhombus in this particular thing. And they've been nice enough to put some of them in, not all of them. They tell us here that the opposite sides, the pairs of opposite sides are parallel. All the sides are equal to each other. But there's some other things that they haven't put in here, and they've done that deliberately. Okay, they tell us that, okay, they have diagonals that intersect at O, and then they tell us that LKM is 34 degrees. Good information. All right, question number 1, 8.1.1. Write down the size of O. All you needed to say was that O1 is equal to 90 degrees. Okay, that is one of the properties of a rhombus. It's 90 degrees. It's that the diagonals bisect at 90 degrees. So if you didn't know that, you were not going to be able to answer any of the other questions. Okay, so it's important that we know that information. So you need to learn the properties, otherwise you've lost 5 marks already off the bat. Okay, then it says calculate the size of L1. Well, we can see that KOL is a triangle. So we can then just say 34 degrees plus L1 plus 90 is equal to 180 degrees. That's the interior angles of a triangle. Okay, and therefore L1 is equal to 56 degrees. All right, let me know that L1 is equal to 56 degrees. Okay. Now it says calculate the size of KNM. So they want us to calculate the size of this large one here, this big, that big angle over there. All right, so we can deduce, if we look at how the triangle's been given to us, we can figure out what N2 is, and we can figure out what N1 is, and then we'll be able to figure that out. Okay. I will start with N2 because N2 is the easiest one, right? N2 is equal to, that's correct, Lulani, 56 degrees because of alternate angles. Okay, and then I have to say KL is parallel to NM. Okay, we get it from this big Z, that one there. Okay. Not from there. All right. And then I know that K1, just going to write here, K1 is equal to 34 degrees. Okay, because the diagonals of a rhombus bisect angles. Okay. They bisect angles. So basically what happens is that this line over here does that and cuts that angle straight in half. So if this part is 34 degrees, then K1 will also be 34 degrees. Okay, I know that part. All right, and then I can use that information to find N1 because I know that O2 over here is 90 degrees. And then I can find what N1 is. Therefore, N1 will equal 56 degrees. because of interior angles of a triangle. Okay, and then I just need to add n1 plus n2. n1 plus n2 is equal to 56 plus 56. That is equal to 112 degrees. There we go. You can say KNM is equal to 112 degrees. Okay. All right, easy 1 mark, easy 2 marks. You're going to get 1 mark for whichever way you find the answer, and then 1 mark for the final answer in this one over here. Okay, there are different methods that you could use to find K and M. Okay. All right. Can we try this last one here? It says it's a proof. Again, it comes from a paper. It's a grade 10 national paper. So they're asking here to prove that the diagonals bisect each other. Okay, it's a 4-mark question. So we should already know what it is that we're doing. Okay, does anybody know exactly what it is that we need to do here? Correct. Yes, correct, Shulani. Excellent. All right, I'll give you guys exactly 5 minutes. Okay, it might take you a little bit longer to get this one, so exactly 5 minutes. But it does have something to do with congruence. Okay, think it through, guys. All right, I think we've got a little less than a minute to go. But I'm seeing enough emojis coming in that I think we might just look at this one. All right. Okay. All right, so we're going to remember that we want to prove congruence, but because we want the diagonals, really, because the diagonals are the things that we want to prove that the diagonals bisect each other. I want these things to be included inside my triangles, the triangles that I'm going to pick. So for my proof, I am then going to say I'm required to prove that PM is equal to MR and that QM is equal to MS and QM is equal to MS. All right, that's going to be my required to prove. So when I then say proof, I can then say in triangle, and I'm going to make sure I map them out properly. PQM in triangle PQM and triangle RSM. Okay, and I want congruence. I'm going to prove 3 things. Right. So luckily for me, which is nice, they've told me that I'm given a parallelogram, which is such lovely information. Okay, I now know that there are certain things that I can then assume in this particular case. I can assume that SR is equal to PR. Okay, and then I can assume that PS and QR are parallel and that PQ and SR are parallel. And that's going to help me a lot in my proof. I'm going to start with the easiest one. I can say PQ is equal to SR, right? And I don't just say properties of a palm. I must say the opposite sides of a parallelogram are equal. Opposite sides of palm equal. Okay. And then I can say M1 is equal to M3. And my reason for that is vert-op angles. Right. And then I can use my big parallel lines to find alternate angles. Okay. So I can then find that S2, if I use that over there, S2 is going to equal to Q2. Okay, because of alternate angles. S2 is equal to Q2 because of alt angles. And I can say because PQ is parallel to SR. Therefore, triangle PQM is congruent to triangle RSM. Can somebody give me a reason? What is the reason here for congruence? This is a side, this is an angle, this is an angle. I don't think it's side angle. It would have to be an angle here, an angle there, and a side. Angle here, angle there, and a side. It would have to be angle, angle, side. Okay. So if I then can prove that these 2 triangles are congruent, yeah, okay, I'm not sure if it's angle, side, angle. I'm thinking it's angle, angle, side. Okay, because if it is angle, side, angle, then I would have to have an angle here, and I would have had to have this side, but I didn't have that side. So I can't say angle, side, angle. I would have to say angle, angle, side here. Okay. All right. Sure. Okay. If then I know that, then I can say that PQ is equal to RS. We have that in our proof. I can also say, therefore, that QM is equal to SM. And that was one of the things we needed to prove. Right, therefore, QM is equal to SM. And then I can also say that PM is equal to RM, which is also the other thing that we needed to prove. PM is equal to RM. There we go. And that's your 4 marks. Okay. All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are we to do that proof without any help? 10 being very confident. Would we know what to do? Okay. Omi says 10. Good. Yeah. Unfortunately, guys. Okay, so they would give you 1 mark for knowing the required to prove. So this is definitely 1 mark because you need to know what you're proving. They'd give you 2 marks for the proofs, 2 marks for the proof, and then they would give you 1 mark for the final answer because from the proof, then this would come out. Okay, so unfortunately, you just have to learn them. There's no other way around it. Sometimes they won't even give you these lines. Sometimes you would have to construct them. So there is a big chance that they're just going to give you a parallelogram, and then you have to construct PR and QS. Okay, and then take it from there. So it's a lot of work, guys. I know. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, grade 10 comes, yeah, it's pretty difficult. Okay, I'm going to jump into some analytical geometry. I just want to double check with everyone. Give me a thumbs up if you've started analytical geometry at school. Thumbs down if you have not. I know you haven't done it with me yet, and that's why I'm asking. Okay, so quite a few of you have not done it. Okay, Kat started it yesterday. All right. So I know that some people already know that they're going to be writing on it. So I don't want to rob them of the chance to actually see analytical geometry. So I'm going to pose this question, this one up here. Let me just make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to pose this question up top here to those of you who have not done analytical geometry. Okay, just let me know, just type yes in the chat if you can. Oh, Kat started it today. Okay, that's lovely. All right, for those of you who have not started it and will not start it, that's okay, not yet. You can do this question. Now, this question is a trigonometry question. You can have a look at it. Just let me know with a yes in the chat once you have it. Okay. And then I would like to chat analytical geometry with everyone else who says that they need it. Okay, please just take a screenshot or quickly jot down the question and draw it quickly if you can't take a screenshot, something along those lines. Okay. Okay, all right. Can I move, guys? Okay, I'm going to go down a little bit so that I can start on analytical geometry. All right. Okay, so those of you who have started analytical geometry, let's just go through some basic rules. How Vikanyo, be quick. Ah, be quick. Okay, I'm giving you 5 seconds. Come on. 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm moving. I'm moving. Square root of, okay, yes, correct. Okay, lovely. All right, so for those of you who have done analytical geometry, unfortunately, if you don't know the formulas in analytical geometry, you don't know what they want from you. This analytical geometry is just about knowing the formulas. You just need to learn them. There's no way around it. Okay, so we do need to know the distance formula. We must know the distance formula, right? We know D is equal to the square root, thanks Omi, the square root of x2 minus x1 all squared plus y2 minus y1 all squared. All right, that's something that you just need to know. And then they're just going to ask you, what is the length of this space from here to there? Then you use the distance formula. Then they ask you, what is the midpoint? And then you use the midpoint formula. There's just no way of us getting around not knowing these. We must just know when to use them. We must know them so we know when to use them. So the midpoint will then be x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. And then we'd have the gradient formula. We'd have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then what other formula have I forgotten? Okay, then you just need to know for parallel lines. For parallel lines, M1 is equal to M2. The gradients of the two lines are equal. And for perpendicular lines, let me just do this. Perpendicular lines, we must know that M1 times M2 is equal to -1. All right, we just need to know the information. There's just no way around it. If you don't know, then you're not going to know how to use it. Okay, so let's start with the information they've given us here on the screen, and then we're going to calculate for A and B, please. Scroll up, you mean to the other question or to the formulae? Is that enough? Oh, scroll down. I can scroll down quickly. Okay, the next question says the gradient and then the equation of line AB. Okay. So the 4 questions, the length, the coordinates of the midpoint, the gradient, and then the equation. Lovely, nicely done, Omi. Wikanya, I'm not sure in what direction I'm supposed to be going. I'm going to be honest. Oh, yes, these are the last two questions here, Kat. The sketch. Oh, the one above. Okay, I'll do that in just a second. Kat, do you want to quickly take a screenshot? And then I'll move back up. Okay, cool. Are you talking about this week, Anya? Is this it? The midpoint one. Okay, here it is. This is the midpoint one. All right. Okay. I'm quickly going to start on these questions, otherwise we're not gonna finish. And we are actually out of time. So I'm gonna get started on these questions over here, guys. Okay, so it says here, use the sketch below to find the length of AB. So we know we need to use the distance formula because they want the length. So we can say AB is equal to the square root of, okay, they don't require you to give them the formula itself. You can just go ahead and plug the numbers in. Okay, so we would have, you can decide which one you want as x1, which one you want as y1. So I'm going to choose x1, y1, and then x2, y2, right? So my x2 would be 2 minus -2 all squared plus 1 minus 4 all squared. Okay, that would give me the square root of 2 plus 2, which is 4, that's 16, plus 9. 1 minus 4, that's -3, all squared would give me 9. Okay, so AB would give me the square root of 25, which is equal to 5 units. Not units, units. Okay, there we go. It's 5 units. Okay, Omi, just double check, like there are instances where there's multiple brackets, so make sure you're not missing that. Okay, because this is just calculator work, really. You're just plugging in numbers and getting answers. Okay. All right, the coordinates of the midpoint of AB. How is the calculator saying math error, Keratilo? I have no idea how that could possibly be a thing. I don't know. I don't know how. Unless maybe you put too many negatives somewhere. I don't know. Okay, so the midpoint of AB would be x1, which is -2 plus 2 divided by 2, not divided by 0, divided by 2. And then I would have 4 plus 1 divided by 2. Okay, therefore the midpoint of AB is -2 plus 2 is 0, so we'd have 0 on this side and then 5 over 2 on that side. Okay, so the x coordinates of M, or the coordinates of M, would be 0 and 5 over 2. Guys, how is your calculator saying okay, maybe try this, because over here a negative and a negative actually should give you a positive. So maybe punch in brackets 2 plus 2 close brackets squared. Maybe that will make more sense to the calculator. I'm not sure how that's happening. Okay. All right. Then the next question says, find the gradient. Again, we use the gradient that we used in the equation of a straight line. When we find the gradient, we take y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 to find the gradient. Okay, let's see. Oh, I'm going to need those 2 points. Negative 2, 4, and 2, 1. Negative 2, 4, and 2, 1. Okay, no problem. Okay, so my y2, x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, y2 would then be 1 minus 4 over 2 minus negative 2. That would give me negative 3 over 4. That would be the gradient of AB. And then the equation of the line would just be me finding y is equal to mx plus c. Okay, I then have my gradient. So I just need to plug in another value. I'm going to choose B to plug in here. So I will have 1 is equal to my gradient of negative 3 over 4 multiplied by 2 plus c. And then we just need to find c here. C would equal 1 plus 6 over 4, which is equal to 10 over 4. All right, so your final answer, y would equal negative 3 over 4x plus 10 over 4. All right, I'm sorry, guys, that was a lot.